This is Melissa Melton reporting for Infowars Nightly News. The Department of Homeland Security's National Terror Alert Response Center put out a warning on September 11th that the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt was consorting with Iranian spies to create a, quote, terror axis that would promote global terrorism. This occurred on the same day that Christopher Stevens, our ambassador to Libya, was killed alongside 3 of his staff members in protests sparked by the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, not only is this rhetoric a throwback to George W. Bush's Axis of Evil speech, wherein he claimed that Iran was the biggest threat to global peace, that it was creating weapons of mass destruction, even though a decade later we still have no solid proof of that, it really does beg the question, which Muslim Brotherhood is it? Is it the one that our White House has opened its doors to, that we're in contract negotiations with, and that we've been giving billions in military aid funding to? Or is it the Muslim Brotherhood that apparently sparks protests that end in the death of our ambassador and are working alongside Iran to promote global terrorism? One thing is certain, as we continue to regime change and nation build across the Middle East, our government is having a harder and harder time keeping their story straight. Now, at the time that I wrote this story, the Pentagon was getting ready to release drones to Libya. Hey, Pentagon, I have an idea for you. Why don't you send the drones to the same address that you're sending all of these billions in military aid checks to? You'll save yourself quite a bit of time. Now, moving on. A trailer for the Muhammed film that supposedly sparked the protests in Egypt, Libya, and Yemen earlier this week had apparently been up on YouTube for 2 months. But according to a story by Paul Joseph Watson up on Infowars.com today, the attacks were coordinated well in advance of this trailer being released. Now, this film was purposely dubbed and edited to enrage the Muslim population. In it, the Prophet Muhammad is depicted as a pedophile, a homosexual, a religious phony, a philanderer, a womanizer, and a bloodthirsty dictator. And despite the alleged filmmakers' claim that the movie was funded by rich Jewish donors to the tune of $5 million, it has all the quality of a low-budget film project. But the mainstream media is jumping all over it because they want to disguise the fact that the al-Qaeda forces our CIA created, and which we are funding to back our regime change agenda over in Syria, are also the same al-Qaeda forces that occasionally like to blow our people up. But they don't want you to know that because they have to justify this whole Syrian regime change thing any way they can. More and more, though, this trailer is looking like a psyop that was created specifically to antagonize the Muslim people, to manipulate their emotions and promote a clash of civilizations so that the U.S. and NATO can increase military presence and rush in and pose as saviors. It's classic Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. For Infowars Nightly News, I'm Melissa Melton.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.